Hey there, welcome to another episode of Brand Mavericks, the podcast that ignites your entrepreneurial spirit and guides you on the path to building your own franchise empire. I'm Neil DiPentino, president of Titan Media Works, and your host for today's show. Today, we're delighted to have with us Logan West. He's the director of franchise development at Heroes Lawn Care. Logan has played a pivotal role in the evolution of Heroes Lawn Care, a company that has undergone significant transformation under the Horsepower Brands umbrella. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Logan West. Welcome, Logan.
Neil, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Man, of course, and a guy with a name like Logan West has got to be on the show. There's no ifs or buts about it. I mean, I don't care if you sold anything or didn't. I don't care what you do. I just want you on my show.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. I'm happy. Like I said, I'm happy to be here.
Fantastic. We're just fortunate that not only have you on the show with a great name like you have, but you have a great product too. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in just a second. But before we jump into the business part of our podcast, let's talk a little bit about Logan and what you're all about.
Yeah, man, absolutely. A little bit of background on me. I've had a 15-year career in financial services, sales, and now franchising. Got my start in the insurance industry right out of college. I went to school at the University of Nebraska, Omaha, kind of a native, not necessarily a native, but spent some time in the military. I was in the Air Force for 6 years, and now still very deeply rooted and connected to the military or veteran community here in Omaha. I'm on the board of directors for, and this is a little bit of a plug here, but I'm on the board of directors for a nonprofit organization locally here called Operation 22 Till Freedom. We help struggling veterans with mental health challenges and counseling services, as well as homelessness and, really anything that a veteran might need. But deeply rooted in that, love power sports, love the military, love franchising. And, this is my first shot in franchising. I've been with Horsepower since August, and we're making moves with Heroes Lawn Care.
Well, fantastic. First of all, thank you very much for your service. And also thank you very much for what you're doing for our veterans. I really appreciate that. We at Titan Media Works are veterans as well. So we love when we have a fellow veteran on our podcast.
You bet.
Well, fantastic. So you've been doing this since August, so this is fairly fresh for you. But from what I'm seeing, you guys are rocking and rolling. You kind of developed kind of a new trajectory, I guess, with the business. And you want to talk a little bit about what you're doing and what's changed and how it's working for you?
Yeah, you bet, man. When I came on, we were under the Heroes 1.0 model, is what I'll call it. And we've since moved to the Heroes 2.0. So, if you look at horsepower in general, there's a fairly large barrier to entry for horsepower brands, and that's by design. But when we took a step back and looked at, historical revenues and some of the historical data for Heroes, what we realized is with a recurring revenue model, we had to lower some of those costs and maybe lower that barrier to entry. And really the reason that we've done that is so that we can put people on the path to cash flow positivity, or the road to cash flow positivity, much quicker. So here recently, what we've done is we've cut the investment in half, Neil. We took it from about $550,000 for a 3 territory down to $275,000 all in. And the way we were able to do that is by really focusing on where those lines of revenue were coming from. So under the Heroes umbrella, we have 6 different lines of service that you might see on an individual basis on any other franchise, but we've combined them all 6 so that we can cross-market and scale the business much quicker. But when we looked at historical revenues, we figured out that the majority of our revenues were coming from fertilization and irrigation. Those are our 2 primary lines of service. So rather than launching 6 lines of service all at once, we decided, okay, we're going to scale this back. We're going to keep the revenue generation the same, but we're going to hyper focus on those lines of service that are really putting money on the bottom line. And then we're going to take our other 4 additional services and we're going to cross market those to our existing customers to start scaling the business. So what that did was reduce marketing costs. It reduced vehicle acquisition costs. It reduced payroll. So we were able to scale that investment back. And then we've moved the royalty from an 8% royalty to a fixed $1,800 monthly royalty for the first 2 years of the business. And then in years 3 and beyond, we've moved to a 6.5% royalty. So really the only thing that you're responsible for paying horsepower now is $1,800 a month. Most people are familiar with our shared services. We do provide support on the back end to all of our existing franchisees, anything from accounting to marketing, call center, vehicle acquisition, talent acquisition, IT support. So we have all those services in house, and on most of our brands, those are mandatory on the back end from an overhead standpoint. But under the Heroes model now, they are optional. So again, what we've really tried to do is lower that cost, lower the overhead cost, lower the ongoing overhead cost, so we can put people on the trajectory to cash flow positivity as quick as we possibly can.
That's incredible. I mean, sometimes you got to take a step back to take a step forward, and that sounds exactly like what you just did.
You bet. Yeah, yeah, and it's going well. I mean, it's been very well received from the existing franchisees. It's being very well received from the candidates that we have in the pipeline and the folks that we've just signed, and it's starting to work.
Well, fantastic. Now, so in your plan, are you looking at specific markets right now? I see that you have, what is it, 31 franchises with 21 open locations. So tell me a little
Yeah.
bit about that.
We actually have 23 now. So we
Oh,
had one open last Monday, and then we had one open this Monday. Um, and those guys are actually they're doing great. We had big revenues produced from our Denver location that opened last Monday. I mean, these guys put up record numbers in 5 days.
wow.
I'll spare you the numbers, but they're doing big things, and just know that we're going to add that to our playbook. We're gonna figure out how those guys did what they did, and then we're going to figure out how to duplicate it and replicate it so that we can put that out to every single one of our franchisees. Um, Another exciting thing, real quick, before I answer your question, is our newest franchisee has a PhD in turf grass management. So not
Hmm.
only are we bringing on people from the outside world, you don't have to have any background in lawn care, but now we've got somebody that is in our ecosystem that can provide value to everybody at a tactical level, right? Because he's got the background, he's got the technical know-how, and we're certainly going to utilize him in that capacity. So as far as open markets, I mean, we're pretty wide open, with 31, 32 franchisees. Um, we've got a lot of space to fill, and everywhere from north, south, east, and west. And with the lines of service that we offer, we've taken seasonality out of the lawn care space because we've added pet waste removal, we've added snow removal, we've
Hmm.
added landscaping. So when you look at those lines of service that we've got, you could be in Boston or you could be in South Texas. It doesn't matter. You can still run this business 365 days a year.
Oh, that's awesome. I think, I think it's one of the things that is super important in, especially in your industry. I've worked with, lawn maintenance folks in the past, businesses, not franchises, but independents here in Tennessee. And one of the biggest problems they always came up with is what do we do when the weather changes? And a lot
Right.
of things were dictated by the change of the seasons too. So here we start warming up in like February, where other parts of the country are still under snow. So we have maybe a little bit longer season, but you never know. We might have a freeze in May. It's all kind of weird. And if you found other, ways to create revenue during those what we consider off seasons in the business, I mean, that's incredible. That's a great opportunity.
Yeah, and dive in a little bit more about that. I mean, really, snow removal came from we have one of our best performing locations up in Fargo, North Dakota. Now, you wouldn't think a lawn care company would be doing anything in Fargo, North Dakota, 5, 7 months out of the year because of the snow. But when you add that snow removal component, it creates a thriving business. Not only that, but with the addition of landscaping, and specifically in the commercial space, we've added landscaping as an option, and we've seen great leaps and bounds on the commercial side. We've got a new shared service at Horsepower called Z Partnerships, and they focus on national and regional partnerships. And some of our Houston locations have actually picked up contracts with Sam's Club to do all their landscape maintenance.
Hmm.
And so when you're talking about landscape maintenance on the commercial level, that's a year-round thing too, right? I mean, every quarter they want different colors for different seasons. They want
Hmm.
their mulch to be pretty all the time. They want their trees trimmed, their bushes fixed. So that has become another really, really big way to generate revenues any time of the year.
I love that. Now you mentioned that you have one of your franchisees has a PhD I'm sorry, what did you say it was
In
horticulture?
turf grass
And
management,
turf
yeah,
grass management. Okay,
yeah.
great. So, I mean, so obviously, here's a person who's got experience or has knowledge in the industry. Is that the type of people you're looking for in terms of potential franchisees? Do they have to have some kind of knowledge in the business, or can they be from another business altogether?
No, I mean, that's a great question. And no, we don't typically look for anybody with industry experience. That was kind of a one-off and a happenstance. What I will say about him specifically, though, is he compared us to a lot of the other concepts in landscape and lawn care out there, and ultimately chose to come with horsepower. So I think there's a lot to be said about that. But no, typically speaking, we're not looking for somebody with industry experience, but we're not. I mean, we're agnostic to it, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if you do or don't. Um, I mean, we've got people that have, tree service experience, but we've also got, IT folks in financial services, that are executives that own this model as well. So, I mean, as long as you meet the net worth requirements and the liquidity requirements, and you have the drive for success, we want to talk.
I like that. One of the things that is, I guess, a pro and a con of franchising in general is that, some people want to get into franchising because the model's there, it's proven. All I got to do, is show up for work and, do my job, be part of the community, and everything's wonderful. Some people want to be a little bit more interactive than that. And it sounds like, from what you're telling me, that that is an option with your business.
Yeah, very much so. So we look at the semi-absentee or semi-involved. Our CEO Tony Holbert will be happy that I said that. He coined that term. But the semi-involved model, but we also have owner operators as well. So I mean, if you want to be involved, you can take the reins and become that general manager if you'd like. If you don't want to be involved, I mean, you can hire a general manager and make sure you're keeping a pulse on the business through the KPI dashboard and your relationship with the GM. So I mean, it really works either way.
Well, that's interesting. I like that. So let me ask you this question. This is um, hopefully I'm not going to offend you by asking this question, but what do you provide to your franchisees that they can't do on their own? If
Yeah, no, that's not offensive at all. And that's where horsepower comes into play. And when you talk about the horsepower advantage or the differentiator, there's a couple things. One, we have shared services, and I kind of hit on those before, but we have a partnership with the largest marketing firm in franchising in the world. We have a partnership with ProNexus, the call center. We have our own marketing department inside of horsepower to help with brand design at the horsepower level, at the brand level. We have an IT department that provides support to all of our franchisees. We have an accounting department so that if you want to utilize that under the horsepower, under the Heroes umbrella, you can plug in directly to them and not have to worry about going to, finding your own accounting. So there's a lot of different services provided on the back end that we offer that you're not going to get in a lot of other places from a lot of other franchisors. Not only that, but we also offer 6 lines of service under the Heroes umbrella, right? So if you wanted to start this company by yourself, it would take a lot for you to get that off the ground. Those are the two big things that I would say that we provide that you're not going to find somewhere else.
I would imagine too, there's some compliance issues too, or not issues, but I guess compliance issues in certain municipalities and certain states and certain cities that you would have to take care of on your own, and maybe you don't have the knowledge to do that. You guys provide that kind of support as well, right?
Absolutely, from an educational standpoint, and I mean, if an executive was going to decide to get into lawn care, where do they start? We're going to help
Right.
you hire people that have industry proven experience. We've got an echo chamber of best practices, so people that have already been through some of these things, so you don't have to experience the heartaches. And that's a good thing about a franchise system in general. That's not specific to Heroes or horsepower. But those are things that are provided to people who are up and coming that want to open this kind of a business that have no background in it.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and you're right. I think that is something that's key to any kind of franchise. And a guy starting a business, from scratch. I mean, you're going to make a lot of mistakes as you get, going. Some of those can be extremely costly, and it sounds like, I mean, just looking at the pivot you guys have made since August, I guess it was. Yeah, I mean, you've made some of those mistakes, you figured them out, and you're fixed them, and you're moving forward. So you're really taking that away from a potential startup because you're already done it.
Yeah,
Been there, done it.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we can draw on what we've done in the past, and even people's experiences, whether it's our mistake or somebody else's mistake. One of the things that we're known for at Horsepower is pivoting very quickly, and that's a good thing about being in an emerging brand. I mean, if you're looking at something that's very established, a lot of times you're just stuck in that model. When
Mhm.
when you have an emerging brand, we understand that we don't know everything, and that we're definitely going to garner some best practices from the guys that are in the field doing this. So we take heed of that.
I like that. So let me ask you this question. What is, I mean, if you can name one thing, or maybe two things that really sets you apart from the competition in the marketplace, what would that be?
Yeah, we're the only existing franchise model that offers both irrigation and fertilization under one roof. So that's a big differentiator there.
Hmm.
But number two, I would say having those 6 lines of service, really being able to scale this business at a very fast pace, turning one customer into 4, 5, or 6 customers, under those 6 lines of service, depending on where you're at. And then obviously the addition of adding something that we may not offer yet. So we've had franchisees get into things that are not currently under the Heroes model that we're allowing them to do, and we're letting them beta test it, so to speak. And if those things go really well, we'll add that to the model. So we're definitely open to change as well. It's not, in an emerging brand, we're not fixated on you have to do it this way. You got to follow the playbook, but if you find something that works that you want to add it as an addition, we're certainly going to listen and open our ears to that.
Fantastic. I like that. Um, so let's go back a little bit to the franchisee in the vetting process. Tell me a little bit about, I mean, who your, um, I guess, who the best prospect to be a franchisee with your business, who they would be, and what is your vetting process for working with that person?
Yeah, I think, for me personally, talking to somebody that really understands the value of recurring revenue, right? So, I mean, when you're comparing franchise brands, and even if you look at franchise brands under the horsepower umbrella, we're not a big ticket item concept. You're not going to get $20,000, $30,000 a pop from selling a fence or a roof or window treatments. So you have to understand that this is a long-term play. It's a 3 to 5 year play. It's not a 1 to 2 year play. We're not the shiny penny, but we're the tortoise and the hare, right? We're the tortoise that's going to win the race in the long run. So people really need to understand the benefit of recurring revenue, and I
Hmm.
think that's a hard thing to get over. So I think that's one of the things that I look for. It's one of the things I explained very early on, like, hey, this isn't $1 million business in year one, but you get to years 3, 4, and 5, and you don't have to lift a finger because you've retained 95% of your clientele over the last 5 years.
Hmm.
You're going to be in a really good spot.
Right.
So that's a big one. And then just people that are willing to execute. I mean, we talk about military folks, and I'm a huge advocate for military people being in this business, and they can follow a model well, but
Hmm.
sometimes black and white gets in the way, right? Like you as a military guy, me as a military guy, my dad's a retired lieutenant colonel, and I look at him from an entrepreneurial standpoint, and I'm like, man, he might have a tough time getting creative to get around something that gets in the way.
Hmm.
And I'm picking on our own right now, but that's just an example. I mean, you have you know people that graduate from the top law schools in the country or that are engineers, and they realize that there's a playbook here, but they don't what they the hard part that people don't realize that have never been entrepreneurs is, like, it's not easy. Being an entrepreneur is a tough thing, and you have to get creative in certain circumstances to be able to overcome things that get in your path. And I always tell people, you got to go over, under, through, around anything that gets in your way to get to success. Uh,
Absolutely.
so, so anybody that's willing to put their head down and work and dive in, those are the people that we're looking for.
Absolutely. Well, that makes perfect sense. I mean, you can get all the support in the world and everything, but it really, at the end of the day, it's your business, and you're the one that has to be the driving force to make that business go forward. Because you can follow all the rules and everything, but like you said, sometimes I guess rules are meant to be broken to some extent, and also getting creative in your marketplace too, being involved with the community, getting your name out there so that people know who you are, and what you do. The other thing I want to just kind of point out is the recurring revenue model. I love that. I am a big proponent of. I hope I said that right. Proponent of recurring revenue. In fact, I've been in businesses where we have had really strong recurring revenue, which makes life a lot easier because you're not always chasing that dollar, chasing that deal. You might make a bigger deal if you chase that deal, and maybe every once in a while you get one of those, and that's kind of cool. But that recurring revenue is nice because you're making money when you're sleeping.
Right.
So I mean, I love that whole model. It's wonderful.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and you I mean, there's some opportunity for a little bit bigger ticket item under the Heroes umbrella, because I mean, if you're doing, let's say, irrigation installation, putting in new systems, that's a little bit higher ticket of an item, but it's still not. You'd have to have a lot of them in order to overcome your overhead costs. And you have to chase those. But if you get in,
Right.
let's say, with a builder, that's building 50 houses a year, and you get the irrigation installation contracts for all those. The good thing about that is now guess whose number and name goes on the wall for service and maintenance in the
Mm-hmm.
garage?
Mm-hmm.
Heroes,
Yeah.
right? So that's checkmate for every house that you do. But you have to be able to build those relationships,
Right.
and that's where recurring revenue comes in, because while you're chasing those relationships, you're still making money over here on the other side.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, listen, we're getting pretty close to the end of our time together. I love what you said. It sounds like you have a wonderful brand, and I like that. And also, you've got the backing of a great business as well. Um, any final thoughts you'd like to leave our audience with?
Yeah, I mean, number one, I appreciate you having me on, and number two, if anybody's looking in the lawn care space, we definitely want to be a part of that lineup, and we're not going anywhere. We plan on doubling the ecosystem this year, so anybody that wants to work together or is willing to work together, be more than happy to chat with you.
I think working in a lawn care business is be awesome. I mean, like you can make, where else can you make money and work on your tan at the same time, right?
Right, that's right,
One
man.
100%. I
Right.
love it. Hey, Logan, you've been a wonderful guest. I really appreciate you being on the show. And how can we get in contact with you?
You can my cell phone number 712-310-5272. So you can call me. My email is lwest@horsepowerbrands.com. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm on socials. Yeah, any way that you want to get a hold of me, I'm pretty much there.
Well, fantastic. Listen, again, I appreciate you being on the show, buddy.
Thanks, Neil.
Absolutely. Hey, that's our show for today. So thrilled you could be with us. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Brand Mavericks is sponsored by Titan Media Works, providing podcast production for those who want to be in the podcast space. Check us out at titanmediaworks.com. That's work spelled WORX. And check out all the other great hosts of the Small Business Delivered Network at smallbusinessdelivered.com. Hey, be sure to stay tuned for more Brand Mavericks coming your way soon. Until then, keep on building your empire. Take care and have a great day. Bye bye.